We talk about a lot of serious stuff on our podcast. Marriage is an area where pitfalls abound all over the place because at a very foundational spiritual level, the world around us is opposed to marriage. It's opposed to the design of marriage. It's opposed to the execution of marriage. But I'm not sure there's any topic we can talk about relating to marriage that is more serious than the one we're going to talk about today.
Let's get into that.
Before we jump into today's show, I wanted to ask you to check out our website, brand new website, marriagebydesignpodcast.com. That's marriagebydesignpodcast.com. All of our episodes are available there on that website. Love to have you pop over there, follow us there, and check it out.
If you have a topic that you're wanting more information on or you have questions about, you can search on our website by topic, which is a really great feature.
That's right. And more than anything, guys, please share this with someone that would find it meaningful for them. Without any more delay, let's get to the show. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nathan Warnock.
I'm Andrea Warnock, and you've joined us for the Marriage by Design podcast, a time where we get to talk to you guys about God's design for marriage, what the Bible has to say about that, and how we live that out practically.
Today, we're going to talk about pornography. This is something that we have talked about briefly on this channel in the past, but today we want to talk a little bit about the really, if you really want to get serious about the pornography problem, here's how you do it. That's what we're going to talk about today, because there's all kinds of literature out there and apps for your phones and computers and all those kinds of things that are intended to help deliver you from this pornography problem. But the real problem with pornography isn't a website, it's not a cell phone, it's not a laptop, it's not the internet. The real problem with pornography is in our heart. And it's not something that's new to humans with the invention of the internet. Yes, access might be making it a little bit easier. I think there are probably times in ancient history where maybe it was pretty easy to come by as it was. But certainly all the crazy kinds of pornography is probably easier to come by now with the advent of the internet. But pornography itself is not a new thing. I'm going to make that case to you biblically here in a minute. But I just want to take a step back for a second and just give you a few statistics about pornography, because this is one of those topics where as soon as you hear someone say it, your skin kind of starts to crawl and you want to stop listening to that podcast. So I understand we're fighting a bit of an uphill battle here because for the most part, maybe we're preaching to the choir, and praise the Lord if that's the case. But if you don't struggle with this, this is something that almost certainly people around you struggle with. For example, according to research, 87.7% of men admit to viewing pornography at least once a week.
That's a really high percentage. And that's a lot. It's a high percentage. And it's frequent, of frequent watching or viewing.
I mean, once a week is kind of a lot. Even as far as like pornography goes, that's a lot. So 87.7% of men and 28.5% of women admit to viewing pornography at least once a week.
When you told me that when we were talking about the show, I said that seems really high to me for women and definitely for men. That I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, does that surprise me or does it not? Which is sad, but that number is kind of surprising to me about women. It seems high to me, and especially the frequency of that.
One particular pornographic website, and I'm not going to name it because I'm certainly not bringing any credit to it, had 2.14 billion visits per month.
Wow.
That particular website generates 4.6 billion each. Well, the industry is a $97 billion industry that generates 4.6 billion each year just in advertising revenue.
Wow.
Which is like a little bit more than Marriage by Design makes each year in advertising revenue. $97 billion industry. Boys are exposed to porn by age 10.
Mm-hmm.
Girls are exposed to porn by age 13.
Yeah, I knew that.
And almost always that's inadvertent,
mm-hmm.
meaning they're not searching it out. It's being brought to them from an older sibling or a friend or whatever, a parent.
Or they're happening upon it.
Here's what you said. Yeah, I want to make a point here. So I think everyone watching this probably knows we, America and the world, spend a ton of money every year fighting drug addiction. Would you agree with that?
Oh, of course.
Like we're really honed in on, hey, we need to figure out how to curb drug addiction.
Yeah, I mean, in the last year, we've spent a lot more money on that and resources. And
it is predicted that up to 1% of the entire world's population will become addicted to drugs. It is predicted that 16.6% of the world's population will be addicted to pornography. And we don't talk about it ever.
No, because
as society.
It's sort of just become, except in religious circles, it's become this like, it's a victimless, not crime, but there's no victim, so it's okay.
I mean, think.
But that's untrue.
Obviously, that's a lie, right? I mean, we know there's all kinds of ways that pornography changes your brain. It can cause, like, I read a statistic in here. Shoot, I want to see if I can find it real quick. About 45% of porn-addicted men under 35 have erectile dysfunction. And of course, we see commercials. I mean, you can't even watch a sports game anymore without being completely inundated with ED medication. Maybe instead of spending a whole bunch of money on erectile dysfunction medication, a significant number of those guys could just stop looking at porn.
Yeah, it's this horrible cycle.
It's a horrible cycle
of addiction to satisfy something that is really insatiable, but also is changing your brain chemistry and your body chemistry so that in person it doesn't work very well anymore. There's
So how about this? 88% of the 50 most viewed videos depicted physical aggression. So people addicted to pornography are training themselves in sexual physical aggression. 48% of them included verbal aggression. 90% contained what we would consider sexual assault.
Wow.
And these are the kinds of things,
what are we doing,
that people are viewing. In addition to that, just in case you're sitting there going, well, that's fake. So first of all, the problem is, I see videos all the time. I'm a video game guy. I see videos all the time of people telling me how people that play if I play Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty, I'm going to go out and steal a car and kill people. Like, if you play video games, you're going to take on those personas, and certainly there are cases of that. I'm not arguing that. But where are the commercials and the articles about 90% of these pornographic videos, the most viewed, containing sexual assault? And 87% of men are looking at these types of videos at least once a week. And then we look around and wonder why guys are acting insane when it comes to objectifying women.
Yeah. And I mean, what I'd like to see some research done in where has this led us with, there's a lot of women who have been victims of assault, rape, all that sort of thing.
Yep.
And I don't know if the statistics are that it's higher than it used to be, let's say 50 years ago. It seems like it to me, but I can't say for sure because I don't know the statistics.
This feels like it would support that would probably be the case.
But right, if we're looking at this kind of material, seems like it's leading us to doing that in real life, which is why that's seeming on the rise. Anyway, that's craziness. Craziness. And there's somebody that we know that worked in the FBI with working for looking into child porn and that whole industry, right? And helping find those predators.
Right.
And that person that we know that did that said, every single time these people that they would arrest, right, hunt down and arrest, it didn't start. Their journey didn't start with that. It started with regular porn, then that wasn't enough, and it became then aggressive pornography, and then
eventually went really dark
kept going
places,
darker and darker
places.
and darker, and eventually illegal. And he's like, nobody just wakes up and says randomly, this is what I want to watch. And so when we're choosing pornography, we're choosing to, of course, do things that are against the Lord's design for relationship and marriage.
Right.
And against our own body and against the Lord. But also there comes a point if you're viewing that where it just isn't enough. And
right.
So it has to be something a little bit deeper, a little bit darker, that kind of thing. And if you're sitting there thinking, this is okay because it's generally normal, people who are addicted continue to view kind of, darker and darker stuff. So
Right. So
it just, my point in that is it is changing. It is changing who you are. It is changing your brain and your body.
So here's the thing, and I want to dive right into the heart issue, because pornography is not the heart issue. Lust is the heart issue.
Mm-hmm.
Human beings have been made with a desire for intimacy and transparency with another human being. Like we have that. It goes all the way back to the garden. When Adam and Eve were in the garden, God brought them together, and the Bible explicitly tells us they were naked and unashamed. There's something about the human heart that desires to be naked and unashamed with another person. The problem is pornography gives you the appearance of intimacy without the actual intimacy. Like while it gives you the appearance of that, it actually steals the closeness and intimacy that comes from actually being intimate with other human beings.
Right. And then adds to that, because now there's a level of shame and secretiveness that keeps you even further away from wanting intimacy.
Right.
Because now we've added a layer of that shame.
Right.
That is blocking that closeness.
And it feeds the lust piece of you. And lust, for our purposes, let's define that as the consumerism side of sex. Like there is a part, and I'd be the first to admit this, there is a part of sex that I like because it feels good to me. Like, I mean, that's like, I think we're okay admitting that.
Sure. Admitting, is that a bad thing?
Right. Like, well, right. I mean, and God made us that way. Like,
Right.
I'm not alone in that.
Right.
Like, God made sex to be an enjoyable act, hopefully, for both the husband and the wife. Lust is a focus on the me side of that. It has a user portion of that.
Yep.
Where lust is you have something that I want to use you for my own satisfaction.
Yep.
This is not new. So if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, well, we have it really hard now. Let me go back to Job, the book of Job in the Bible, probably the earliest chronologically, other than the creation story, the earliest chronological account that we have. So we're talking ancient human beings. Here's what Job says as he's reflecting. He went through a really difficult time. He had a bunch of friends that were trying to tell him, hey, you have this hidden sin that's causing you to be punished. Job kept saying, no, I don't, no, I don't, no, I don't. And here's what he says with regards to lust. I have made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman. For what is our lot from God above, our heritage from the Almighty on high? Is it not ruin for the wicked, disaster for those who do wrong? Does he not see my ways and count every step? So even for the ancients, Job understood, I have to make an agreement with my eyes that I'm not going to look lustfully on a woman. This is not new. So we don't get to take the excuse of, well, it's easy to say don't lust, but, what did they know? Well, I mean, in the ancient times, there were all kinds of temples where the worship to the gods and goddesses was literal sex. That's what you did. Like, you would go to church and that's what you would do. Paul writes in Galatians chapter 5, verse 16, he says, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For those are opposite to each other, to keep you from doing the things you want to do. But if you're led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now, he's going to ultimately go on and talk about the fruits of the Spirit. But first, in chapter 19, he says, now the works of the flesh are evident. The first one he says, sexual immorality. In the Greek, the word for sexual immorality is porneia. Literally the word that we get pornography from. Like, pornography is pictures of porneia. Pictures of sexual immorality. That's what pornography is. So when we engage in that behavior, we are giving ourselves over, as Paul says here, to the fruits of the flesh which are self-evident. And when we give ourselves over to those fruits of the flesh, there's a consequence to that. One more verse I want to read. James, the brother of Jesus, wrote a book called James, and in it he talks about temptation. I want to take the last part first. In chapter 1, verse 14, he says, but each person is tempted when he's lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. When we allow ourselves to sow into our lust, the net result of that is going to be death. It might be the death of something as quote-unquote insignificant as your ability to get an erection at the right time. It might be the death of your marriage.
Yeah.
It might be the death of your ability to look at women the way God designed you to look at women, or women to look at men the way God designed you to look at men.
Or the death of your conscience. searing your conscience.
Right, meaning you start to think these things are okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating to me. There were a couple of statistics I read about looking at pornography within the church. 50% of people who say they go to church weekly admitted to looking at pornography regularly.
Wow.
Guys, we've got to get serious about just flat out saying, you know what, this is wrong. And we have to stop. And here's the real crux of our conversation today. We spend so much time trying to figure out how to behavior modify pornography out of our lives.
Yeah.
We put blockers on our computers and on our phones, and we have accountability partners, and we do Covenant Eyes website blockers and all those kinds of things. And look, practical things are a positive thing. I'm not saying that. Here's what I am saying. If you don't deal with the heart, none of those things will matter.
Yeah, because there's always a way around it. There's always a way to figure out how to get access if you really want access. And even that's not the issue. You haven't dealt with the heart problem.
That's right.
And there's even if you never see porn ever again because you have all of the barriers up so that you can never see porn, you still have a heart issue.
Yeah, and
your heart still lusts after your heart will still continue lusting. You will still continue tripping up, even if it's in your own mind with these issues. And it's even if
you've seen what you've seen,
even if you are just bringing back the thoughts into your mind and not giving those over to the Lord, that's sin. We know that the Lord says that's as if you have sinned against the Lord when you lust after somebody in your own mind.
Right. So what do you do? Right. I do want to offer some hope. I hope we've made the point. This is so dangerous, and we have to run from it. And we need to stand up for running from it in the circles that are around us. First thing you have to do is deal with the heart issue. If you've come across this video because you realize, hey, this is a problem in my life and I don't know what to do. If you have never considered a relationship with Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you need to start asking some questions about that. Find a church in your local area, an evangelical church, Reformed Protestant, or non-denominational, or something like that, and go to them and say, I have a problem, I need help. And they will point you towards the Lord first. If you have a relationship with the Lord, it's time to get serious about being obedient to Him. It's time to get serious about putting off the sin that so easily entangles. It's time to start getting serious about radical obedience before the Lord.
Yep.
And that starts with simple confession. A confession doesn't mean asking sorry. Like a lot of times we think when we talk about confession, it means I tell God I'm sorry. God knows Jesus died for that. He knew every sin you ever did commit, ever will commit when He went to the cross on our behalf. He died for all of those. He doesn't need you to say, I'm sorry. What He needs you to do is confess to Him this is wrong. Confession is agreeing with God that He's right and we're wrong. He says sexual immorality, porneia, is wrong. We need to confess that we're in agreement with Him and we've been doing it the wrong way. That's the first step. Then we can start thinking about the practical things, which are good things. We can start thinking about the practical ways that we help to protect ourselves from weak moments. Right? Putting
recognizing
blockers
that
on our things and accountability partners and being transparent and those kinds of
and
things.
all those things are great, but also recognizing that we're never going to have power over our sin without the Holy Spirit.
Right.
So having a relationship with the Lord and asking for the Lord's power to move out of that sin is the only way.
So, babe, tell me. Oh.
Sorry, one more thought on that. Mm-hmm. So Nathan was saying, that verse that says, and gives birth to sin, and sin gives birth to death. And we were saying, there will be a death of something, but also Jesus came to bring life and life abundantly. He raises dead things to life.
Right.
So if you've experienced quote unquote death because of an addiction, that doesn't have to be the end of the story. Jesus came to bring life to you and to that part that has died, but his life and his holiness to that, right?
That's great.
So there's not a forever death sentence.
So in these last couple minutes, babe, what do you do if your spouse is struggling with this?
Well, my answer for everything is always first pray. It requires a lot of prayer, not only for your spouse to realize that the Lord has the power for that, and to bow to the Lord in that and to his power, but also for you to know how to handle that, because that's a big thing and it's a big weight to carry. And the Lord wants to carry that for you and to walk with you in that. And so as the spouse of somebody who could be dealing with that, pray a lot for them and for you, and for people to come around you to help support you and your spouse. And then I would encourage you to talk to your spouse and say, hey, this is a problem, and this is not right by the Lord. It's not right by me. I'm hurt by this. And so is God. And how can we, what do you think about that? And hopefully having a calm conversation about that. I know that can be really hard, especially when you feel hurt and angry, and probably more than just a little bit of time has gone by where you've been dealing with this. So some buildup of this issue, but trying to have a productive, honest conversation that doesn't just, hit the wall with emotion is good. If your spouse says, yeah, you're right, please don't think that you are the help that they need. You need outside help.
Right.
Not somebody in your family, but you need some outside help. Ideally a program,
start with a pastor.
Sure.
In your church.
Right. But yeah, start with an elder or a pastor or something like that. Or some really good marriage mentors, if you know some, but find some help, and then they might be able to point you in the right direction. Everybody's situation is going to be dependent on the circumstances, but I think that's where you start, and prayer throughout, and we say this with other big issues in marriage, don't go blabbing this to your family and friends, and, be so careful to be somebody that your spouse can trust through this time. And so, keep that number of people who know the issues really, really small, and think about, if this were you, how would you want your spouse handling this? And you'd probably want them to tell only a teeny tiny amount of people that are only being told because they're helping you along in the process. It's not a gossip session,
Right.
That's what I would say. Anything else you would add to that?
No, that's great. That's great. Listen, this is a difficult topic. It's a hard topic it's not a hard topic to talk about because it's so obvious, but I know so many people struggle with it. And so it's one of those simple, obvious truths that is difficult for a lot of people to put into practice, and I understand that, but man, we have to do it. Like, our spouses are counting on us. Our future spouse, if you're a young man or a young woman, is counting on you to get control of this. And I know with the Lord's help, we can do it, because the Lord is opposed at a foundational level to lust, to addiction. And with his strength, you can break out of this. But you got to take the first step, which is admit the real issue is a heart issue.
Yep.
If you have questions, you are always welcome to reach out to us. marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. Until then, thank you so much for joining us for a little bit more of a serious episode. We'll try and have a couple of follow-ups to lighten the mood over the next couple of weeks. But we're grateful for you sticking it out with us. Until next time, remember, God is for your marriage.
Thanks so much for listening. We just wanted to say, if you have a comment, a question, something that you're struggling with or need prayer, please reach out to us. You can get a hold of us by emailing marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com, or of course you can comment on any of our social media and we will get back to you. But if you have something private, feel free to email us. We're personally respond to you.
That's right. And we do respond to every comment that we receive, either through our website, through YouTube, through our social medias, which leads me to feel free to pop over to our website, marriagebydesignpodcast.com. You can leave comments on any of our videos through that site. We would love to be able to connect with you, but please don't hesitate to reach out. Even if you just need prayer, you need someone to hear what you're going through, we're here for the Marriage by Design community, so feel free to reach out anytime. Until then, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.